About your bow. Your bow is fragile. Please treat it with care. Don't leave it on a bed where someone's going to snap it. Make sure you put it away in its case where it's safe. Never touch the horsehair. This is horsehair on your bow, and if you touch it, the oil from your fingers gets on it, gets all mixed up with the rosin, and it can ruin your bow. So please don't touch the bow hair. You can touch the stick. Every once in a while, your fingers will touch against it, but don't touch the bow hair. When you get your bow out to play it, you're going to use this tightening screw. You're going to hold the bow by the frog and then turn it righty-tighty to make the bow tighter, and you're going to see the horsehair move away from the bow, and you should have a little less than a pinky's width in the middle. Please don't stick your pinky in there, but just to test it, a little less than the pinky's width. The bow should actually curve down towards the hair. If it's straight or if it's curving away, it's way too tight. So tighten it when you start playing, but when you put it away, make sure to loosen it. Your bow under pressure for a long period of time can warp it or cause problems. So you loosen it lefty-loosey on the screw, and the bow hair is going to get really close to the stick when you loosen your bow. Make sure to rosin your bow every time you play. So rosin is this little piece of wood with the rosin in the middle. Sometimes they're longer, sometimes they're circular, but this is all rosin. You're going to take the rosin in your left hand, take the bow in your right hand, put the bow onto the rosin, pull it back and forth like this, and maybe 10 times up and down. Don't over rosin, but make sure you rosin every time or your bow's going to get harder and harder to use, and you won't even notice that the grip is going away. This makes your bow sticky, and you want to rosin every time. How to hold the bow. You're going to take both cellos and violins and violas. You're going to make a circle with your thumb and your middle finger. Make a circle, and your thumb for violins and violas is going to touch right against this line of your finger, and your thumb is going to touch on the side tip. You don't want to touch on the flat of your thumb, but you also don't want to touch on the very middle of your thumb. You want to move it over to the side, and the side of the tip is going to fit real nicely against that line, and you still want to make it circle. Never squish the circle. Keep your fingers bent. Never squish the circle. Okay? Cellos, your thumb is going to come a little further in the middle of those two lines, but I'll show you that when we get the bow. Okay, so you're going to make that circle, and then you're going to take the bow, and right here near the frog, you've got a bow grip, and right near the frog, you're going to put your middle finger right there, and then you're going to curl it around nicely curved again, and then you're going to put your thumb right in this little V where the frog and the stick meet. So you're going to put it right here in that leg, and then you're going to wrap your finger around, and you're going to hold it with that circle. And notice that my hand leans over towards my pointer finger. That's the way you want it to work. So you put your fingers there, leans over. Obviously, if I try to hold the bow with those two fingers, it doesn't work. So we need to get the other fingers. You're going to lean over onto your pointer finger, and the stick of the bow is going to touch right in between those two joints of your pointer finger. Then your ring finger is going to lay flat against the frog. Ooh, I forgot something. Middle finger goes right to the metal. This is called a ferrule, but if you think middle to the metal, my middle finger is going right towards the metal there. So middle to the metal, then your ring finger lays across. Violins and violas, your pinky is going to set right on top, just like this. Okay? Cellos, your thumb, or the little finger. Your little finger is going to reach around, and it's going to lay a little flatter on the frog. Cellos, you hold your bow lower. Violins, you hold your bow higher, and that changes the way that your hand holds it. Okay? So, cellos, your fingers go down a little bit further in. Violins and violas, your fingers are a little bit further out. Your pointer finger is pretty much the same. Your thumb is pretty much the same. Just as an example, if you look at my fingers here, the blue is where the violin should cross my fingers, and there's right on the tip. Okay? So that's where the violin bow, the stick of the bow, should cross my fingers. If I'm putting my bow there, that's where it should cross. The green is where the cello bow hold should cross. So you notice On the violin, excuse me, on the violin, your fingers are a little further out, and on the cello, your fingers reach down into the bow a little bit, and it changes. The way the bow should tip, violins and violas, this part of the frog should tip slightly, just a little bit, towards you. Cellos, that tip should face slightly away from you because you're holding the bow down, and you want the bow hair to angle slightly towards the bridge in both instruments. Violins and violas, the hair angles towards you because the bridge is this way. Cellos, your bow hair angles slightly away from you because the bridge is actually away from you the way you guys play. Okay, so that's how to hold the bow. Now, in order to practice holding the bow and feeling what it feels like in your hand, this is a weird feeling. In order to practice this, I want you to do a couple exercises or games, if you want to call them that, with your bow in order to just get used to holding the thing. You should hold the bow. Before you ever pick up your instrument, you should just keep the bow in your hand, feel what it feels like to move around with it before you're trying to pay attention to what you're playing and your bow. Do one thing at a time so that your mind doesn't frizzle on you. So, first game. You're going to take your bow and you're going to hold it and you're just going to go up and down and up and down like a rocket ship. Except rocket ships shouldn't go down, right? That would be a bad thing. But up and down, and you're going to feel your fingers flex. Make sure your fingers are round across the top of the bow. Make sure your thumb stays round and you're poking out that thumb knuckle away from your hand. Okay, so make sure that that stays that way and feel your fingers flex. There should be flexibility in your fingers, and you want to keep your bow straight up and down as you're going up and down. If you have a ceiling fan in your home or in your room, do not do this near the ceiling fan, especially not when it's on. Okay, the next one, we're going to take your bow, you're going to hold it straight out like this, and we're going to turn your arm, and we're going to do windshield wipers. And you're going to feel, when you come across to this side, you're going to feel the weight of the bow in your pinky. When you come across to this side, you're going to feel the weight of the bow in your thumb. So windshield wipers, and feel what that feels like. Again, round fingers and flexible. You want your fingers to be loose as possible. Obviously, you don't want to drop your bow, but you don't want to grip it like you're going to fall off of it. You want to make sure your fingers are flexy. Okay? So windshield wipers. Okay, the next one, I want you to draw a circle on the ceiling, an imaginary circle. So you hold your bow up, and just using your fingers in your hand, move your bow in a circle. So on the ceiling, you can make that circle. You could also try to write your name in cursive on the ceiling, but again, feeling your fingers bent and relaxed. All right, the last exercise we're going to do is called pinky push-ups. So you're going to hold your bow out like this, and if you push with just your pinky, the bow tip should go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. So violins and violas, I've been holding this like a violin and viola bow. Cellos, you can do all the other ones the same way, just having your finger this way. Pinky push-ups are exactly the same, except you're not pushing with the very tip of your pinky. You're pushing a little bit into your pinky, but I'm still pushing with my pinky. Push, 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 push. And the fulcrum of pinky push-ups is your thumb. If your thumb is flat, it doesn't have anything for the bow to sit on in order to push. If your thumb is bent, then you can push with your pinky, and this is like the middle of the teeter-totter. You're pushing with this finger, and the other end of the bow goes up, up, up. So again, a little closer up. A little closer up on pinky push-ups. It's very important to have your thumb bent like this, and that way when you push, 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 your thumb is a fulcrum. Notice on the bottom of my thumb here, this knuckle pokes out. Never let this knuckle go like this. Never hold the bow with the flat of your thumb, all right? Because that makes your knuckle flat and it ruins the circle. Do you see that there's no circle there? You want to have a nice circle in your fingers, okay? So spend some time holding your bow. Before you ever even put it to the strings, spend some time holding your bow. Holding the bow is weird. We've been practicing on pencils, but spend some time holding it so that you get used to what it feels like. Then when you put it on your instrument, or for cellos down here, when you put it on your instrument, it's going to feel more natural in your hand, and you're going to get better sound more quickly. Have fun!